today, a weirdly auspicious day, toast to this auspicious day, we're going to talk a little bit about transportation. And we've talked a lot about how COVID has really hit public transportation hard, which is terrible for essential workers and terrible for sustainability, because a lot of times once you lose a route, it does not come back. And local governments are not pulling in enough money based on property taxes and sales taxes and corporate taxes to keep funding itself during this incredibly bad lockdown. Um, well, yay, there's a new sheriff in town, and Sheriff Biden, in his stimulus package, is proposing a $20 billion transit portion, which should be enough to avoid major service cuts across the country. So, a lot of people rely on public transportation, a lot of essential workers in particular, who are underpaid for, if they're this damned essential, they should be earning more. Very much underpaid and most at risk because they have to deal with all of us non-essential people who cannot stay the hell home. They need this. And we need this once we get out of COVID, because sustainability, there's no sustainability that will not require public transportation to be a part of the transportation package. So this is really good. Now, we just have to wait until it actually passes the Congress, which is, as always, the actual hurdle is not so much the proposal, but the votes. But this is great. It's good news for us. It's good news for essential workers. Good news for America. So another auspicious day toast from me.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And for those who haven't seen previous shows, I mean, one of the things that Georgia alluded to is something we've talked about, on multiple shows, but a quick recap, of course, is we have a pandemic. You're supposed to social distance. One place that you can't really social distance is inside mass transit, where you're you're literally in an enclosed space with a bunch of strangers. So we saw throughout 2020 people actually buying more cars because they did not want to take the train or the bus. And what happens then is ridership goes down, the revenue from the fares goes down, they end up cutting routes, fewer stops, and then, like Georgia said, even once we come out the back end, a lot of the municipalities are just reluctant to put the lines back in service.
Yeah, and we saw this worldwide.
Yeah.
People were buying mopeds and bicycles all over the world.
Yeah. Now mopeds and bicycles are great. Bicycles, of course, are awesome. But we need mass transportation. We absolutely need it. And when we see lines being cut, when we see stops being cut, routes being changed, that's never a good thing, because they are reluctant to bring them back. And so we need to make sure that they keep going where they are, so that when it's safe and people feel comfortable riding mass transit again, those avenues are available to them, and we can pick up where we left off and continue growing from there.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they could have put it in some sort of untouchable kitty, like literally just suck all that money that they were putting into maintenance and driver pay and everything else. Maybe keep paying the driver, but everything that was going into that line, just kind of put it on pause, untouchable, and then when we reopen, just turn on the spigot again. But like you guys both said, that's not the way government works, unfortunately.
Yeah. So this is great. Yeah, we got to save it.
The important point for me, aside from the fact that I'm a big mass transit fan, and I've been lucky enough to live in American cities where you can do that, where you can use mass transit, is that the loss of mass transit hits the people least able in our society to cope with that. And that's why it's so important.
Absolutely.
We don't necessarily need to take the group among us that has the least amount of stuff and tell them, now you got to go out and buy a car, and you got to insure it, and you got to put gas in it, and you've got to maintain it. And we don't even care about the extra pollution on the road, because you're going to buy the cheapest thing you can buy because you don't have a lot of money.
It's even if they can get a license or if they haven't been. Some people can't get a license for various reasons.
Sure. So mass transit is important, whether you use it or not. It's important to you. It's important to your family.
The air you breathe.
Yeah.
And if you are a worker with disabilities, a lot of times mass transit is your primary mode of transportation if you don't have somebody who's there to take care of you. And as we all know, it's not always possible if you have a disability to have a caretaker who can drive you around. So it's a really vital resource.
And if you are sitting in traffic jams every morning and every evening, don't you wish everyone else was on mass transit?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Every time I'm sitting in traffic and you see the bus go by in the special lane or ride in the shoulder or whatever the agreement is for the buses, it's like, that's awesome. That's another 50 people who aren't clogging all this up.
and they're sitting on the bus listening to music or reading a book or trying not to breathe air, who knows what, but they're relaxing. Yeah. They're not
Napping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah.
There you go.